In this video, we will cover the decision-making questions that ask you how to select the strongest argument from a choice of 4. Typically, more than one of these arguments seems perfectly reasonable, and that's why it's important to understand exactly what the UCAT is looking for. With the right method, you can quickly spot the desired argument in well under a minute, giving you more time for the tougher questions to come. Our objectives over the next 7 minutes or so are to demonstrate the 2 most important criteria for a correct answer, objectivity and completeness, and to test your ability to spot weaker arguments. So, what makes an argument weak in the eyes of the UCAT? The secret is that most arguments can be viewed subjectively. The UCAT will not ask you to resolve any controversial debates. You must get into the mindset of a UCAT test maker. Think about what they can do to make one argument clearly weaker than the other without resorting to different opinions. There are 2 ways to make an argument weak. First, you must make the argument subjective, basing it on emotion or opinion rather than fact or evidence. An argument with evidence and objective support will always have an advantage over an argument based on a feeling. Most people would agree that it is weaker to argue that people should stop smoking because many people feel that it is no longer desirable than to argue that 100,000 people died in the UK from smoking last year, and evidence shows that most smokers would cease to smoke if this was made clear. The second way to make an argument unambiguously weaker is to make it avoid the question. If I ask you to prove motorbikes should be banned for being too dangerous, it is no use arguing that vehicle deaths have risen 15% over the last 5 years. This argument has simply not addressed the question closely enough, broadening the topic unnecessarily to vehicle deaths. A far more complete answer would address motorbikes specifically, and ideally a direct benefit from banning them. For example, studies have shown that laws restricting motorbike ownership have led to quantifiable reductions in collision casualties. This strong argument answers the entire question, not just part of it. If the question asks whether the government should legalise Class C drugs to boost tax revenue, don't just focus on the legalisation part of the argument. The question mentions tax revenue for a reason. Make sure to include it in your argument. Let's see if you can appraise an argument with what we just learned. Try this question and we will review it right afterwards. When reading a question, try to pinpoint what the main points are. In this example, it would be targeting the obesity epidemic. With this in mind, the correct answer would be no, because there is little evidence that those who already choose not to go to gyms would change their minds if it costs less. This is correct because it is objective and complete. It is objective because it is based on solid grounds and a lack of evidence for the proposition. It is complete because it addresses the main goal of the exercise, solving the obesity epidemic. Only the last option addresses those who are obese and how they may be affected. Remember, it is important not to be swayed by an argument due to your own opinions or belief systems. Even if you do believe that gyms should be state subsidised, that is irrelevant and you should remain impartial when reading the arguments. In the context of this question, jobs, tax revenue and taxpayers are all irrelevant in the main objective of solving the obesity epidemic. The UCAT examiner is trying to trick you by mentioning state subsidised, so you focus on financial issues rather than the obesity epidemic. It is a red herring and should be avoided. Lastly, it is worth mentioning that option 1 misses the point entirely. Just because the average gym goer is a healthy weight, it doesn't follow that gaining access to the gym would make people healthy. It could be that healthy people go to gyms rather than that gyms make people significantly healthier. With the criteria we just discussed in mind, try this next question. The correct answer would be the second from last option. Yes, as bed nets bought with foreign aid have been proven to be an effective instrument against malaria, one of the biggest causes of child death. Why is this correct though? The argument addresses the 2 main points in the question, which are both foreign aid and reducing infant mortality in relation to malaria. The second from last option is also based on robust evidence. Meanwhile, while some of the other arguments are based on evidence, they are in fact only addressing either infants or foreign aid in relation to malaria rather than both points. So the second to last option is the only answer which can be objective and fully complete. To stress the point, The correct answer mentions that foreign aid is proven to be an effective instrument against malaria, one of the biggest causes of child death. The answer addresses the problem: infant mortality, mentioning child deaths, the root cause, malaria, and one objective solution, the proven instrument of foreign aid. There are other problems with the competing arguments in this question. The first option uses the soft qualifier some. Some countries with malaria epidemics are at risk of becoming dependent on aid. Not only does the argument give no grounding for this, the word some is weak and ambiguous. Think about it. Are we talking about 1% of relevant countries or 99%? We cannot tell from a statement like this. Equally, the second choice uses the word many. Many countries with malaria epidemics have corrupt bureaucracies. The word many is as equally vague as the word some, giving no definitive facts on the matter. The last option is stronger. Yes, as the evidence shows that health-based interventions are the best way to allocate foreign aid. But it fails in two regards. First, it doesn't mention malaria, a key component of the question. And second, it doesn't complete its point by referring to infant mortality specifically. We hope these questions have illustrated that you should seek and avoid when selecting the strongest argument. With good preparation, the strongest argument should stick out like a sore thumb when you read through the options. Remember to identify the key points. The question is trying to address and then scan the arguments for the one which addresses all the main points. Also, remain impartial and be skeptical of vague arguments with soft qualifiers. But just as much as any topic on the UCAT, practice will always improve your game. Good luck.
That concludes another UCAT lesson. If you like the strategies and content we're developing and want to see more free content, please leave us a like and don't forget to subscribe. If you have any UCAT questions, leave us a comment below and we'll help you sort it out and get your preparation up to speed.